it's a win for IT that we can push some of that back to the business. It's a win for the business that they in some way, have control of things they can do without having to wait on someone else. My name is Adil Fakier. I am a technical architect out at Payless ShoeSource. For folks not familiar with Payless, essentially a shoe outlet that used to be pretty well known across the US as well as Latin America. For awareness, in Latin America, we're probably looking at 425 stores across all of Latin America. One store reopened now in the US out in Miami with the intent then of growing. Just some context here. I think Payless has gone through 2 prior bankruptcies in the US. This is essentially year 1 for Payless, leveraging the Workato platform. I've only been at Payless for about less than 2 years. But prior to me coming on board, if you can think of any possible application that a retailer and technology that a retailer can use, Payless used it. Everything was on-premise. Everything was developed in pockets or silos for business need. A lot of it was still leveraging and running on AS400 mainframe. Like I said, almost every possible vendor you can think of was in the doors at Payless doing work. That all led to a massive IT team and then a subsequent application management services team equally as big to support everything. With everything that they had, and this was with all US stores still being open prior to bankruptcy, etc. They went down the path of using MuleSoft for integration. Again, all on-premise at a significant cost. And part of coming out of that bankruptcy then was, what can we do? How do we look at simplifying this mess of a landscape that we have with applications and make that one more cost-effective, more simplistic in terms of how we work with applications, integrate applications, move data around, and then also the support of all of that. So with that, then basically, we embarked on this transformation, and this is essentially the time I started. And hopefully this does look a bit simpler, just for me it does, based on what we had. But the key thing was settling on a couple of areas that we approached. One was an ERP, 2 was point of sale, so point of service, right? Cash registers at stores. And then 3 was essentially our data warehouse. We tackled all 3 of these at once. So for an ERP, SAP Business One is what we're implementing right now. Snowflake was chosen as our data warehouse of choice, and essentially a point of sale within the Latin American market called Retail Pro was leveraged. Our Retail Pro rollout is fully complete. We are in post-go live support right now for SAP Business One, and essentially the data warehouse is basically coming up now with all relevant data. Part of the challenges we had with this, and this is where the Workato piece comes in, from a Retail Pro standpoint, that's where prior point of sale was leveraging MuleSoft. This now gave us an opportunity to look at what else we could use. With the Retail Pro to SAP Business One integration, they had something native to talk between the 2 for doing that integration. So that in a way was a nice solve, right? One less thing for us to worry about that the vendor takes care of. Left us still with a gap between SAP Business One and everything it needs to talk to from a data perspective. Going into this project, SAP, or the vendor that implements, the partner that implements SAP, had their own proprietary tool for integration that they looked to leverage and use. When we started evaluating this, we didn't like how it worked, the complexity, the huge learning curve to leverage it, the different pieces to think through and work, and then also the fact that it was still pretty much point to point, which meant a lot of touch points and keeping track of where everything is going. So we knew we had to look at something simpler, given one, we had a much smaller IT team now to support all of the work that needs to be done compared to pre-bankruptcy days. We evaluated Workado, obviously against MuleSoft and others that we were familiar with, and basically then settled on Workado given the learning sessions we did with the team, partnership and collaboration that we got with Workado as well. For example, SAP Business One didn't have a connector to for Workado, right? And the Workado team stepped up and built that out for us in less than 2 weeks. So the willingness to partner with us was a big win there too. Having our folks work through recipes themselves to test out things and being able to build it in a couple of hours was another key win in terms of ramping up quickly and then being able to support the needed recipes. With that, then we got that going. We now run, and again, we have not touched anything from an automation standpoint. It's all literally starting small with the email campaigns, then getting net new integrations between applications in our footprint right now, done in Workado, and then also building out our integrations between SAP Business One and Snowflake as net new in Workado. Our next step then is, once we get through this first year and we're stable on SAP Business One, is to look at how do we tackle all the proprietary SAP Business One integrations with their own tool and replace that with Workado so we can simplify even further and standardize on our one approach for an integration tool, which is Workado. In the Payless case, right, they were so reliant on IT that at some points, it's actually a shock to them that they can tackle some of the stuff themselves. Like they've never had that much quote unquote power to do all of that. They always had to rely on somebody else, specifically IT, to get some of the stuff done. So to round that off, right, the biggest business impact for us outside of just Workado overall with the transformation was around eliminating our data center cost, right? Significant monthly fees for hosting in a data center on legacy applications, a simplified footprint, right? Just given what we had before, right? We needed to simplify, and part of that simplification is also moving from on-premise to cloud, right? That helped to, one, simplify the footprint, also reduce our IT staff complement and the need for significant application managed services. Also, that spaghetti mess that you saw earlier, right? It's getting that simplified so it's easier to integrate and connect applications. And then also leveraging Workado and our phase one with regards to integration. And our phase two essentially will be tackling any automation that comes out of it that we deem necessary.